Welcome to TalkOnTopicz Podcast. My name is Coach Lowe, and I'm going to be conducting today's interview. Today we have with us Delora Evans, and she is the founder of Full Fruit Empowerment Center. We are so excited to have you, Delora. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. Thank you, Coach Lowe.
That's wonderful. So I'm so excited to hear all about Full Fruit Empowerment Center and what it is that you do. So Delora, tell me, what inspired you to start Full Fruit Empowerment Center?
Well, really practicality. I've been in the field of counseling and therapy since 2001, and I just did the natural progression of what, like down here in Texas, I started out trying to get a drug counselor certification because that was the quickest thing to get. I was 35 years old. I originally had a MA, medical assistant certification. I was working in front offices of hospitals, and I never could. I was always struggling money wise, even with family help. And so when someone told me about those that certification to be a drug counselor, I just moved here to Fort Worth, and I'm like, they were like, it's just 6 classes, and you can make so much money, and then you could work at night. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went back to college to get get my associate's degree and the certification or the license as a drug counselor. And lo and behold, I realized, since I was 35, I realized that I'm a natural student. Like when I was in high school, I didn't like school. But when I got back in college, I realized that it really wasn't hard for me. The hardest thing was getting to the school most times. Uh, so I began to study, make A's, get scholarships. I sailed through that program. I became, I got I took the classes to become a counselor. And for me, it was more finances and practicality, and it was just practice. I mean, it was suggested, it sounded easy. It wasn't that I was saying, oh, I'm just a helper and I just want to help the world. That wasn't it. So maybe some other counselors and therapists, that's their backstory. It's not mine. But what I've come to understand now, because hindsight is the only vision, that's 2020, is that I was led to the field because there's a difference between an occupation and a vocation. And a vocation is an occupation that you're especially suited for. I'm
Okay.
especially suited for this. So it's become a vocation, and I was led into it by the power that guides me, but I didn't know it at the time. Like I know it now. So it was really practical. So
How did you come to discovering that you were led to being
when
a
I've tried to leave numerous times. And when I go back, it's like it's really not hard. It's not hard for me to, like, I like studying, so you have to keep up your, like, I have 2 licenses and like 2 or 3 certifications. Like every 2 years you have to you're study, especially as a therapist, because it's all type of things that's always coming up new. You want to stay, and then it's so competitive. It's so many therapists and counselors. So I'm always studying and taking what we call continuing education units. We call them CEUs. I'm always doing that for the licensure to recertify, and I'm always studying and reading the psychology journals, reading. And so I actually like doing that. So it's not hard. And then I've set up skills to where it's really like if I do a session, it's not hard to put the note, and they pay you when you do a note. They pay you. You can say you're great, but your note proves it. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. So I have different things that I've set up, and that's why I train counselors now. My site is also a clinical training institute where I can train new counselors into the field. I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor, so I can be able to share what has helped me, my gains, my losses, my trial and error, and everything that has turned me into who I am now. And that now I'm not trying to leave. Like this is what I'll probably retire doing. So
wow, I like that. So what is your story a little bit? Would you like to share with the audience a little bit about your background?
yeah, my background is I come from Dallas, Texas. I was raised in an area called Oak Cliff. I was raised by a single mom. My mom was 15 years old when she had me, and we were in Lubbock, Texas then. And she was in a staunch church family, and so once she started growing up and wanting to, do her own thing and be here and there, my grandparents wouldn't allow her to take me with them. And so
Mm.
she left me there with them for the first, right at 9 years of my life. And then she came and got me because she had gotten married, and her husband was from Dallas. So we ended up in Dallas. And just the regular childhood of a black inner city child. What we call whoopings was actually abuse, and
Yeah.
had CPS been called, everyone in the whole apartment complex would have been removed. But
Right.
we didn't know that at the time. So I always look at it. She's my mom. So um, growing up in Oak Cliff, I began to experiment with drugs and alcohol. And when I say experiment, that's exactly what it was. Like, you smoke a little weed, you drink a little drink. Like, we partied. This is the '80s, so it was about partying and having fun, dancing, and that's what it was about. And so
Mm.
when I turned 20 years old, freebase was introduced. And just like any other drug, we didn't think nothing of it. I mean, it's like anything else that's new. No one knew of exactly that it was an epidemic, that it was strategically placed. They have that show Snowfall right now. One of my sons asked me, "Does that bother you?" Because I watched it, and he asked me, "Does that bother me to watch people simulating like they're getting high?" I'm like, that don't bother me. What hurts is that they did this stuff to us, and they're now capitalizing off of it. That they
What?
actually funded a whole war, and now it's part of a streaming. It's like, but it was our lives. Like,
Right.
we were devastated, and then we were marginalized and criminalized and demonized.
Hmm.
But then the opiate crisis come, and it's a medical. So all of this, and even being in this field, I had to go and talk to my therapist and other professionals about, because I'm far past an addiction, but I'm not far past the memories, and I'm
Mm.
not far past, the day, what happened, because I didn't raise my sons. I
Hmm.
was 20 years old, I was a baby. And so, like I said, and so that, but now, and even with that, based on the first question you asked me, even with that, I still didn't say, I thought about being a drug counselor because I was now clean in recovery or whatever, but that wasn't, I still wasn't saying, I just want to help people get off drugs, because I wasn't saying any of that. It was about me taking care of my children. And they say you can make better money doing this. So, like I said, I was led and I was guided by the power that I believe in to place me right where I needed to be, where I don't work hard. I do exactly what I love doing. I get to share who I am, and I make money with it. So,
I love that. That is awesome. So you did that with you went to school and raised children.
well, I can't. When I moved to Fort Worth, and I moved to Fort Worth from Dallas to go into a treatment center, because all the while of the '90s, I had kind of ran through and ran in and out of programs, and that some of them had the policies that you couldn't come back. And so I was in treatment in Dallas, a women and
Hmm.
children program, and my daughter, she's 27 now, she was 6. And
Okay.
so the 60 days was up, and the counselor I had told me, well, we can't find anywhere for you to go. I couldn't go to my family. I don't have that kind of family. I wasn't, I don't have that family where you come stay with me and stuff like that. And so she found a spot at this place here in Fort Worth. I didn't want to come, but I mean, me and my daughter moved here, and 5 months into, I moved her to go into another program. I was in that program when I started college, and it was
Hmm.
really the counselor that I had. She was telling me, you would probably make a good counselor. And then
Wow.
she's the one told me about how much I could make. And that's the way I made the decision, because I didn't have my self-esteem was non-existent. When they
Wow.
say low self-esteem or high self-esteem,
Yeah.
well, some of our self-esteem don't even exist.
Wow.
And we work up to low, and we work up to, and then really, even on any given day, my self-esteem could be high. It's based on how I'm feeling about me that day, what
Hmm.
I've allowed into my life that day,
Right.
and what's going on around me. So it's very important not to have people around us that help to empower us, and it's mutually supporting. It's not about a bunch of backbiting, and that's important. People don't think that. But so my self-esteem could still crash with all these accolades and all these years clean And in sobriety, like I could still crash on any given day and think about you should be further in life and oh, you didn't do that, that kind of stuff. So it plagues me, but I don't let it keep me down. I let it kind of run through my mind. So, but yes, I did. Back to your original question, I raised my daughter was 6 when I started college, and we did the things that people do. I was on housing, I was on the county aid, I drove a cash car. Like the first car I had was $500. I spent $500 on that car and spent $5,000 trying to keep it running. You see what I'm saying? Now I go to the dealership. I now drive new cars, but it hasn't always been this way. And I've worked my ass off to get exactly what I have. I don't have a lot of human help. Like I'm not married. I don't like my mom and my dad. My dad died. My mom isn't that type of a mother. And so I say, like David said in Psalms, had it not been for the Lord on my side, and that's the power that I believe in that helps me. So, yeah.
Wow, what a story. It sounds like, you had to find a place to live and you were doing building your career at the same time. Where did you find the strength to do that?
I say we had when I was growing up in church, there was a song by Mahalia Jackson, and she say, "My soul looked back and wonder how I got over." That's what I do. I'm like, how was I doing? Because I was, and when I was in Fort Worth, and I got my bachelor's degree and didn't. I went to the university, so I drove. I would get off work, I would drive to and then my daughter, I do. I sat back and I'm like, and then I was very active in a 12-step program. Like I went through a 12-step program, so I was sponsoring people, I was speaking here and there about my recovery journey. I was doing all of that. So it was, it was a strength that was not my own. And I never forget where my real strength lies. My real strength does not lie. It lies in something that's really intangible and it's indescribable. A person have to know it for themselves.
How did you get to know that power? How did you get to know?
People would tell me, I say, we had when I was growing up in church, there was a song by Mahalia Jackson, and she say, "My soul looked back and wonder how I got over." That's what I do. I'm like, how was I doing? Because I was, and when I was in Fort Worth, and I got my bachelor's degree and didn't. I went to the university, so I drove. I would get off work, I would drive to and then my daughter, I do. I sat back and I'm like, and then I was very active in a 12-step program. Like I went through a 12-step program, so I was sponsoring people, I was speaking here and there about my recovery journey. I was doing all of that. So it was, it was a strength that was not my own. And I never forget where my real strength lies. My real strength does not lie. It lies in something that's really intangible and it's indescribable. A person have to know it for themselves.
How did you get to know that power? How did you get to know?
People would tell me, we are a lot of times in society we're really big on saying what to do but not how to do it. Right. So when we would say one of the 12-step mantras is let go and let God. That's right. First of all, you have to understand what God is to you. Is it good orderly direction? Is it a group of druggies? Like these people are my power right now because I trust that they're clean. So if they can do it, whatever it is, if it's gifts of desperation. So we have to find what that is in order to turn something over to it. Right. So it's really a step process. It's not like I'm just going to jump on top of, well, let go and let God, and you need to turn that over. Okay, first I need to discover who that is. The more I discovered who God was and wasn't, the more I found me. You see what I'm saying? The more I started understanding who I am and my role and my purpose in life. But like I say, people will tell you what to do, but not actually how to do it. So like I say, at first I needed to understand what is God to me? What is that? What's that power? Do I name it? Do I not name it? Do I inherit my grandmother's? Like, what do I do? But the minute I define God, I confine God. See, we're real big. We're in an era where we need to define everything. We got all these, when it comes to the LGBTQ, we got a lot of pants, we have to put definitions on stuff. And so that's why that abstract concept is hard for people because they need to define something.
Exactly.
We don't know how to just let go and let whatever's there, that the power that made possible what seemed impossible, because it seemed impossible that I would be who I am now. No one believed in me, and that's even difficult to be back interacting with family and some old friends because they didn't believe in me. So I've had to work through that as well. Like, let's not stand around. I understand you're glad now, but I couldn't live with you. Like, you didn't trust that this was ever going to happen, so
Wow. I really love that. It sounds like you had to do some forgiving.
yeah,
It
you
sounds
do.
like you had to do some work there. What
Yeah.
was that like? What was that work like for you? Could you tell the
Well, first
audience?
I had to forgive myself.
Mm.
I had to let me off the hook, because if I don't have compassion within myself for me, then I'm not gonna have it for you. Like, I'm not. I'm gonna judge you. I'm gonna be hard on you. I'm gonna quit. I have to let myself off the hook and really just look at, like I was just saying about that movie Snowfall. Like, we were sitting ducks. You said social and economic systems of structural racism. We are under like 9 layers of structural racism.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to manage that, and then you throw some drugs in there, which is the only thing besides having sex and having more babies,
Wow.
there's no programs in the community. So it's like it was thrown in there. So I had to really take all that information and start giving myself a break. Like, you really, what you were doing the best you could with what you had.
That's right.
Okay, so now that I have more and I know more, I do better. I do better by me. I do better by other people. So yeah, I had to forgive myself. I have to have some self-acceptance, some compassion toward myself. I have to not be so hard on myself. And then that way I can internalize it, and therefore it can come from within, but it can show up without with
Wow.
other people. So
I love that. I love that, Delora. Thank you
yeah.
so much for your time and your energy. Thank you for your
Yes.
transparency and sharing with the audience about your story and what it is that you do at Full Fruit Empowerment Center.
Yeah. Yes.
Before you go, I'd love for you to just shout out your tag, or how
Okay.
can my viewers or the viewers reach you?
Okay. Well, the Full Food Empowerment Center is my therapy practice and a counseling agency. I've just become certified and licensed through the state of Texas to provide, especially drug treatment, but I have a private practice on the side. You can reach me at 682-557-4695. I'm Delora Evans on Facebook, or the Full Food Empowerment Center. My IG is therapy at the Full Fruit. And so also I'm a life strategist, and I go under Hood Girl Gone Good. So that's
Hey.
Jasmine Smith and I'm give a little shout out. My social media manager. We're working on, because I'm really an around the way girl. Like LL Cool J says, standing on the bus stop, sucking on a lollipop. I'm very open. Everyone can't go out to the suburbs, and someone has to be where we're needed. And so Hood Girl Gone Good and Life Strategist has more of a laid back. We have packages for I can't say life coach because I'm not going to pay for another certification. I have enough. So it's a life strategy qualified, bona fide life strategist, so I can help you. So
That's
please
right.
reach out. Yes.
Wonderful. So you guys heard it. You know where to reach Delora. Thank you all for viewing this today's episode, and talk on
All
topics.
right.